I really feel sorry for some of these people. They come to lecture, you lecture me, you don't know what you are talking about.
Ate wano Uganda wegenda era okubeera nga ate ekwasibwa wa chairmanship. Jukira era ne non-aligned movement President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni olunaku olwokuna olunaku olw'eggulu olwokutaano yavuddeyo bavudde ne bamukwasa obwa chairman era kati nga yatwala amawanga gano agenda ekisanja kibeera kya myaka 3 era nga ajja kwandinga over mu 2027 kati ekyebuuzibwa singa abeera tayise mu kalulu akajja aka 2026 agenda kukola atya naye nga ate waliwo ate kendabye post oba tweet ku Twitter evudde wa talk gayo bamuyita talk I think muna Kenya yagambye nti no buli gwe bawa obwa chairman atera batera omujjako twalaba Hosni Mubarak ngono yali wa Egypt we bamuwa okubeera chairman w'omukago guno oba w'omukago guno tiyamala yokuna myaka 2 ne bamuwamba era ne bamujjako kati atera Museveni yavuddeyo n'atabukira abazungu n'ababoggolera n'abagamba temujja kunsomesa how governance is kubanga bino ebintu bibaddemu nabitandika eyo mu 1960 so you don't need to teach me era yababoggoledde n'abalangira n'abagamba mwajja wano okututulugunya ne mutwala ebyaffe ate era tumaze okufuna obwetowaze twalwana nnyo n'abakulembeze aba Africa kulaba nga twetowaza ate era mwagala okuyingiza or you want to put your nose into our affairs. Please, this is a sovereign state era nga twetongola tekira tetulaba nsonga lwaki ate you come back and impose your whatever into us yeno yababoggoledde era n'aboggolera ne Israeli kino kyeyayise okulumba Abapalestino eri mu bitundu eby'e Gaza mu lwendo lw'e Gaza kati no zezo ensonga era wati Museveni bwe yayogedde ng'aboggolera abazungu n'abagamba tujjeeko akamanyiiro mubeeko we mukoma kubanga naffe tetujje ne tulingiriza mu nsonga zammwe lwaki ate mwe mwetwala nnyo okulaba nti no buli musalawo okulingiriza buli nsonga ebeereze mu ddiiro naddala ez'amawanga amalala.
Until by 1980, the only affluent part of the world was Western Europe, North America, and Japan. The rest of the world were in poverty. In the last 50 years, we have 40 something years, we have seen spread of affluence to some other countries, China, some countries in other parts of the world, spreading affluence a bit more. And what we are aiming at is affluence for the whole world. We may not achieve it in a short time, but we should have it on the radar screen as our aim. In order to do that, we go back to our principles of NAM. And those principles, the Bandung principles, really start with humility. To be humble, not to think that what you think is the only way of doing things. In other language we call that subjectivism. When you just think that what you think is the only way of doing things. The opposite of subjectivism is objective thinking. Objective thinking means you deal with situations the way they are, not the way they should be in your head. We who have spent I have spent about 60 years, more than 60 years, engaged in the political resistance in Africa here. And in those years, we have been studying all these events in the whole world, actually. And we have got some good idea. If you look at the 500 years from the time of the Renaissance in Europe, even if you don't go back to the earlier periods, you'll find that ideas were coming, new ideas, then people discover better ways of thinking. We started off with Buddhism. There was a thinking in Europe that Buddhism is the correct way of building wealth. That is gold, getting gold and silver, and some of the countries did that a lot, but they ended up being not developed. I don't want to mention individual countries. Therefore, after some time, it became clear that Buddhism was not the source of wealth. Then there were some thinkers in France who talked of they were called physiocrats. Physiocrats believed that wealth was only in agriculture. That if you emphasize agriculture, you will be prosperous. But after some time, a man called Adam Smith came along and wrote his book in the year 1776 entitled The Source of the Wealth of Nations. Where does the wealth of nations come from? And he was able to show that by private effort, free enterprise, by specialization and exchange, you can create wealth for the country. He was more correct than the others, Adam Smith. Then Karl Marx came and said, no, private property is the source of all evil. We should get rid of private property and collectivize wealth. He had some good points in central planning, but obviously there were also some philosophical mistakes in his position. Now, Adam Smith helped certain Europe to move forward, but something else came up which he had not foreseen. This was the issue of the market. If you produce, who buys? If you produce and nobody buys, or very few people buy, you will not continue. That's how you got to the crisis in Europe of 1929, the collapse of the capitalist system, the depression. That's how now another thinker, Maynard Keynes, came along and said, you people, you forget the issue of aggregate demand. That even if you give money, free money to people in their pockets, they buy what is produced, it will help the economy. That's how the idea of the welfare state came, where to give money to people even when they are doing nothing. Now you can see just in that period, so many ideas coming, going, coming, going. This is the correct way. Instead of wasting, I really feel sorry for some of these people. They come to lecture. You lecture me, you don't know what you are talking about. So therefore, the NAM, I'm glad we are all here. I want to assure you that we seem to be on the right way, unlike the other people who are full of themselves and think that the only way is the way they think. When we were busy in our political struggles, they would come and ask me, are you pro-East or pro-West? I look at these people. Sometimes I would want to use bad words, but I would restrain myself and to say, do you think I'm an idiot? I am pro myself, I'm not pro anybody. Why would you not have it in your head that this man or this group of people are pro their own interest? Why would you think that my job is to be pro this one or the other one, and I have no other job except that? That's really incredible shallowness. Therefore, it's good that this movement has been going on. We have the capacity to solve many of these problems if we cooperate among themselves, because remember we have been saying that wealth comes from producing goods and services and selling them. Now that means three things. Number one, investment to produce the goods or the services. A factory, a hotel, a transport business, that is either good or service produced. And we can cooperate here. Those people with some surplus capital can invest in our countries, and we produce goods and services, which means that the NAM governments must create conducive atmosphere for investments to take place. The NAM countries also sometimes make mistakes. Like here in Uganda. Uganda was moving very well in the 1960s. Then we had a man called Idi Amin. I don't know whether you heard of him. He was a soldier, a British soldier, poor, no education. He came and took over the government. We decided to fight him. But in a very short time, he expelled our Asians. There were Asian people who had come from Asia and settled here, especially India, Pakistan. This property here, this is a joint venture between the government and one of those people, one of our Indian origin people. Idi Amin expelled all this. And yet they were a very active investment group. They were in sugar, they were in hotels, they were in steel production. So here you had a leader of a NAM country undermining his own economy. So therefore, it is very crucial that we study very carefully the issue of the investment climate in our respective countries. When we kicked out all these people and we came into government, we brought back, we gave back the properties of our Asian citizens and non-citizens that Idi Amin had taken. We gave them back. We had a hot debate in Parliament. Some people saying this, some other. We said no. They must get back their properties, and they got their properties. And this one here is one of those people who came back as soon as he heard that we had given him. He came back from. He was in London. He came back here. And the other day, I was asking our people, how many factories have been built by our Indian returnees? They told me 900 factories they had built since they came back. So this is one front line of struggle. The atmosphere for investors to produce goods and services.
Katino yoyo mukulembeze w'eggwanga Yoweri Kaguta Museveni era nga kati chairman wa non-aligned movement ekyo era nga ekisanja kye kyakugenda paka ng'ennaku z'omwezi abanga 2027 ekisanja kya myaka esatu mwagaliza birungi byerere katumanyi nti is so experienced especially in leadership and governance era ngono wekituuka ku history n'engeri gy'obukulembeze tewali ndowooza ensonga lwaki bamuwanye ekitiibwa naddala Africa and Central and East Africa. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni y'omu ku basinga okutiibwa n'okuweebwa ekitiibwa kubanga obukulembeze bubadde mu myaka gwa 38 39 ogiyita gya kuzanyisa yuyo agenda kukoona myaka 4 ng'ali mu bukulembeze bwa Uganda nga tewali amukuba ku mukono. So zezo ensonga eza Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ne non-aligned movement era nga omukolo guno gugaddwa mu butongole kati ate tugenda mu G77.